Aha! Here he is, muted as usual.
Hello! Testing. Everything's testing, you know. Life is testing. Life is a continual test, a trial by tribulation.
Trauma, absolute trauma.
Trauma, trials, tribulations, they're all the same. Funnily enough, there's going to be a theme briefly today at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's a Thursday, madam, just in case you're wondering. That lady in Poynings who's regularly watching at this time. And our good friend, of course, in South Ruislip. Hello to you, my good friend in South Ruislip. Oh dear, yes, is that us there? Yes, hello. Yes. Charming people.
I should have Mr. Henty up there.
I know that. I can see me. No, you're there as well.
Yes. Away you go. Keep going, and Mr. Keith will rectify the situation.
Yes, well, he's very good. If anyone's going to rectify the situation, which is today's word, by the way, rectification, I think, then Keith is the man. Now, while he's adjusting his trousers, I beg your pardon, his screen, I will carry on. In the hope.
Yeah, we've got the right.
That's good.
Yes.
Can people hear me?
Yes, they can.
They could hear me. Well, I know my wife says I sometimes wish I couldn't hear you, John, but I weather it very well indeed. Talking of the weather, dear, oh dear. I'd rather not talk about the weather. So incredibly boring, really. So it's a lovely day, so to speak, really, but everything's blooming. I mean, everything's blooming, which is wonderful. And look, yes, there's activity everywhere, mostly in vehicles, of course. Everybody going around in cars the whole time, which is fine. You know.
At 8 o'clock, there's quite a lot of pedestrian activity. Children going to school, people going to work.
Yes. Yeah.
Then it all calms down and everybody goes into their cars.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing, really. And we know when you reach a certain age in your life, it's a very good thing to try and exercise a little bit, certainly, or get out in some way or other, as Keith does bravely. Good for you, Keith, I say. Against all adversity, another fine word today. And, you know...
But it's because I have a little sip of red wine first thing in the morning, and I understand you have had a sip of red wine.
I have indeed, and I'm hoping that there may be someone in Leicester, the town of Leicester, or the city of Leicester, I should say, probably watching us at this very moment, because I received through the post yesterday, on a rather happy occasion for my lovely wife, whose birthday it was, a very happy birthday to her, of course, yesterday. We had some fish and chips, which was very nice indeed. She married me for better or worse. Fish and chips.
Oh, dear.
I like that.
You can be corny sometimes.
I know that is.
It's wonderful.
Oh, dear. Better or worse. No, anyway, I mean, there was a knock on the door or a ring on the bell quite early in the morning. So I rushed to the door, and there was a good friendly postman. We just had one here at the BH, the Black Horse. And he said, "Oh, no, this is for you." And he had all these cards, which were lovely. And he also had this big sort of cardboard container. And it was addressed to me. And I thought, well, that's very interesting. What is it? I mean, had I ordered anything? I thought, no. I don't do a lot of this mail order. I'll be honest with you. I prefer dealing with human beings in shops. Remember shops? Yes, those things, you know, where people go in and buy things and use money, cash. Yes, I know. Happy days.
Yes, and have pretty shop girls.
Oh, my goodness. Well, apart from that, yes.
Always being traditional, pretty shop girls.
Well, I wouldn't entirely argue with that. There are some pretty good-looking blokes as well. I suppose we need to balance things. But anyway, this postman said, no, it's definitely for you. I didn't have to sign for it or anything like that. So I brought it in, and I thought, well, what is it? It's going to be a flower or something in this? So I Open, my good, it was tough to open too. I was very, very well protected. There was all the tape down here and tape round there and staples here. And then when I opened it, there was this enormous plastic, sort of see-through plastic, and it's surrounding, yes, as you said, red wine, a bottle of red wine. And I thought, well, that's most interesting. I mean, I know we've discussed alcohol before, Sir Keith, and you're not really totally a red wine man. I mean,
not totally.
Not totally. Partly, but not totally. Anyway, I'm not. I mean, I'll have the occasional Merlot.
Yes.
Merlot. I like
Just any old port in a store.
Oh!
Oh dear. We're excelling ourselves.
Stop it, please. You know, we ought to call this. This is another idea. I'm going to come to in a moment. But I mean, this should be called the Hayes and Henty Happy Half Hour.
Absolutely.
It is.
Yes.
I mean, if you're all miserable out there, well, don't worry. I mean, turn on the Hayes and Henty's Happy Half Hour here most of the time, and then we'll see what happens. It's hilarious. It's hysterically funny, and it has all the letters H. More about that in a moment. Yeah, because I think H is very significant. I'll explain why in a moment. However, I thought, well, this is odd. I looked at it. It was, I can't even describe the actual, what the sort of red wine was, unfortunately. And it was lost on me anyway. But I thought that is interesting. And so I looked, as you would, for a message. I mean, there surely must be from an admirer or anything. There was nothing at all. So in other words, the mystery is still there. Because there was a telephone number, or at least I obtained a telephone number, which I thought, well, before I do our happy half hour, I'll try and come up with an answer. So I rang them up, and I heard a voice immediately answer in literally, I should say, 8 seconds. Said something about, if you have an extension number, press it now. Beep. And that was it. Cut off twice. So either they're trying to hide something about this red wine, or they knew it was me and they thought there's no way that we're going to enter into any form of negotiations with that man. Because I was going to ask, you see, very politely, could you possibly double check your records just to see who instigated this? Because I genuinely have no idea. You might ask, well, are there people who actually perhaps are thankful to you, John, for some reason or other? And
I think it was from Arthur Lowe.
Well, yeah, there's another thought.
Yes.
Arthur Lowe, dear, oh dear. Dad's Army, are we talking
Absolutely.
about? Oh, Dad's Army, there we are. Wonderful, Dad's Army. No, it wouldn't have been him. Not in Leicester anyway. Now, do I know anybody in Leicester? No, I think Gary Lineker used to play for Leicester at one time. Wait a minute. Isn't there a company that make crisps in Leicester?
Oh,
I think it's that firm whose name we won't mention here because we don't do commercials. But I believe, I'm sorry, I've got to mention it. It's Walker's Crisps. Walker's Crisps. I probably sell it here in the BH. Crisps. No, there we are. So I have no idea. So I'm simply saying to anybody out there at the moment, that gentleman in Twittering, for example, or South Ruislip, if you have any theories, I mean, you could always tell us now immediately, or maybe let us know a little later on, why I should receive a rather pleasant. The question is, am I going to open it? At the moment, I'm a little hesitant.
No, you could keep it for a while.
Well, I could keep it, yes. I mean, all good things mature over a period of time. Would take us, for example. I mean, if we hang around long enough, we'll be more than mature, I would have thought. I don't know, and it was rather nice. It, especially on a birthday, you should say, or could say, that maybe I should have cracked it open and celebrated my wife's birthday, but then she doesn't like red wine anyway. So that would have been no good at all. However, we did have a small glass. I think I have a lager, and my good lady had a small glass of wine to accompany our fish and chips.
With fish and chips.
Oh, fish and chips.
Anybody think of anything better to have on your birthday than fish and chips.
It's in total
good old English delicacy.
Yes. I couldn't agree with them all. And we've had many happy occasions. Max Miller, for example. We need to mention Max today. There'll never be another lady. There'll never be another. Now, listen. Max Miller was an exceptional man. And we celebrate, as you know, with the Max Miller Appreciation Society, www.maxmiller.org. It's there. Go and have a look, but not now, madam. No. And Max Miller Society, of course, we have our little get-togethers because it's very important for people to get together. And that's why we encourage it here on Mirador. Get together with other human beings, you see, not necessarily online and all the rest of it, but actually talk to them personally if you can. Well, we get together. And the most recent occasion we all had, I think I mentioned it here, we had fish and chips in an excellent restaurant in Hove called Bankers. It's a very, very good fish and chip shop. We do a very nice deal for senior citizens, I think. On Thursday it is possibly. Lovely fish and chips and very good chips. And you see, my wife knows all about chips because she was actually, her father was a chippy, amongst other things. And they had a fish and chip shop at one time in Kettering, and then they moved to the Croydon area. And thank goodness they did move to the Croydon area, because as a result of that, I met my wife Sylvia in the Croydon area. You see.
Did you meet her in the chippy?
Well, I must admit, what I liked about it was that whenever I went to their place, which was somewhere else, the one thing that would be guaranteed, it would be excellent chips.
Yes.
If there's one thing that Mr. Allen, as his name was, he could do wonderful fish chips. And it's gone on. Sylvia, too, can make excellent chips. And there is an art to it.
There is indeed.
It's certainly an art.
Yes.
So there we are, this strange red bottle of wine. Next week, if I get an answer, I will let everybody know. I'm sure you're hanging on in there to find out. But otherwise, I thought I might just touch on, and I brought one little item in my bag today.
Oh, wonderful.
And it is relevant.
Yes.
We don't like things that are irrelevant on this particular half hour. Henty and Hayes, happy half hour. Remember that. HHH. And that is the point, because I think the letter H has a deep significance. And I'm obliged to say that as a Henty, and you would also echo that as a Hayes. Very important. I mean, where would we? I mean, it would be Henty and Hayes, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah. And you just reminded me of a song that we should put in our repertoire.
Oh, which one's that?
Little Miss Echo, how are you do? Hello.
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 Hello. The facts in this case, your worship, details being taken down immediately. The songs he comes up with, I mean, we're not doing the whiff and poof bomb. I tried that last week as I went out the door, and I watched it back and I thought, that man's gone mad. Ba, ba, ba. What about this child, by the way, we all saw on the television? Now, I envied this child, the one who can impersonate seagulls.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, let me just bore everybody with that one. Well, I mean, I admire that, because I'm frequently, I find myself, as you know, I frequently sound like a cat. If I feel comfortable and relaxed and things are going very well, I will probably, I'll not purr, but I'll sort of meow. And it is rather disconcerting for other people around me, who then immediately start searching for the cat, and it disrupts either a railway carriage, or frequently in Waitrose, they're all looking for cats. It's largely me. Are rather important.
Absolutely.
You know, without the voice, where would
we be?
I know it's good to look at this, but to actually hear the word, surely that is an improvement. And after all, madam, if I need remind you, this is television. You see, that's it. Started way back at 2LO, and that was radio, wasn't it? Alexandra Palace, all the early days of television, and Sylvia Peters.
Sylvia Peters, yes.
Lovely presenter. Wonderful
woman.
Wonderful woman. So, look, this is what I brought today. Look, I can even leave it there between the two of us. Now, you may say, well, heavens, what is that, John? Do you know what it is? What is this? First of all, what is this? This surely is Yes.
Miss Heather, is it not?
It's Heather.
Aha!
How Heather? Get
Now,
it?
I'm trying to do, because down there is Henty.
Ah, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, look.
Yes.
That's...
You can hold it up as well eventually. But yes, Heather.
Heather. Well, now that's remarkable. You see, the things we can do. I mean, with all these other television companies, with about 14 cameramen, 6 researchers, and about 3 viewers, we do everything ourselves, you see, which is quite remarkable in itself. And the value of this is it represents one of our themes today, not red wine, madam. This is Heather, and it's in a bottle of Harvey's beer.
Harvey's.
H for Harvey. Now do you get what I'm talking about?
Yes. But I think you should put in parentheses that there is a beer bottle in existence from Henty's brewery.
Yes, exactly. From along the Littlehampton and Chichester, exactly. Unfortunately, not Hastings, which would have been quite useful in the context of H's, and 1 or 2 other. I mean, Haywards Heath, for example. Anyone in Haywards Heath? I'm not sure. Maybe not today. But Haywards Heath, of course, would lean towards this theme of H. The only trouble with H, and I've really researched this pretty thoroughly, is that it has other rather unpleasant circumstances too. I'm not sure I should remind people, but for example, the Holocaust was H.
Right.
Hiroshima was H.
Yes.
What caused the problem? The H bomb. Am I right?
That's right.
What about Adolf Hitler? What about Himmler?
No. Yes, H has got rather
a
dodgy history, hasn't it?
Have you ever thought about that before? In other words, should we get rid of... I mean, I would not object to being John Henty. In fact, in bits of Brighton, I am. Oh, that's John. Oh, John. Hello, John. All right. Yes. See you later.
It's Henty. Yeah.
I know. He's key phase, isn't he? Key phase.
Henty.
You can dispense with the H if you really want to. And I'm beginning to wonder whether we should consider that. I'm quite happy to be known as John Henty. And then think of all the other names. For example, I've written Honey. I love Honey.
Oh,
begins with an H, for goodness sake. Then there was Tommy Hanley.
Oh, yes. Actually, he was mentioned on Mainstream for some reason.
I'm not surprised.
Was it this morning or was it yesterday? No, it would have been yesterday. Last night. Well, Tommy Hanley.
Yes. Of course. The Itmar, of course. We often do, as you know, madam, we digress a lot.
Yes.
I'm sorry about that, but it's just a fact of life. And we often wander off into the realms of Tommy Hanley. There was a program called Hippodrome. Or Happy Hippodrome, I think it was. That was on from the north up in Manchester during the war, of course. Then let me see. There are other H's which I think were worthy of a mention. Heaven and Hell.
Oh.
Heaven and Hell, you see.
Heavens. Yes.
Hallelujah. H. You'd never thought of this, had you, Keith?
No, never.
I've really started something pretty momentous here. And I think we can develop it and see whether we can sort of either encourage a better use of the letter H or get rid of it altogether.
Yes. Well, to be quite honest with you, I am a great fan of the famous singers who sing Hallelujah.
Oh, yes.
So I think we should keep it.
Unless
we want to say Hallelujah.
Well, you can see that there is the danger of that, I suppose, and then that is encouraging poor diction, isn't it? Really, hallelujah.
Yeah, hallelujah.
You know,
but mind you, if it's written, you can have a little apostrophe in front.
Nothing like having a little apostrophe in the front, madam.
Absolutely.
Have you ever tried it, madam? Yes. I should be very careful though how you do that. I tell you what, mind you, it's not as good as a hyphen. I always have a deep respect. If anyone appeared on this program, I mean, I'm rather disappointed that this man. Really, he should be called not an H, really. Wait a minute. Horatio Hayes.
One of my favourite people, Horatio. Horatio Bottom.
There's another H.
Oh,
you see, they just roll off the tongue.
Don't they? Yes.
I tell you what.
It's another villain, but a lovable villain.
I tell you what, there you are, man. I mean, I know it's a dull day and there's not much to do, and you thought, I don't know, I'll give those two people on Mirador a try. They'll probably be there. Of course, we'll be here, madam. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Henty and Hayes are here. H, you see. So there's write down all the nice things that you can think of that begin with H. We're not going to do that today. But
honest.
What? Honesty is begins with. You see, I honestly believe that I have touched on something here. There is no letter in the English letter, in the English alphabet, that is not better than H.
Right.
And we must wipe out all the bad connotations, like your Hitlers, your Himmlers.
Yes.
They can go. But if you could think of good reasons, heaven and hell, for example, we'll forget the hell bit.
Yes.
So there we are. That was a thought.
Only.
Holy.
No, only.
What, holy?
Oh no, that's starting with an O.
I thought,
no,
holy. We had
holy, yes.
Holy. Hallelujah. Oh my goodness me.
Holy Jehoshaphat. That used to be in the comics. Do you remember the Batman comics?
Wasn't that a letter J, though, Jehoshaphat?
Probably was.
Probably was.
Probably was.
I thought you'd like the heather, though. This is actually from our garden. So it is relevant. It looks rather good in that harvest bottle. Yes. And this was a rather special brew. It was called, and I like this quite honestly, it's called Lewis Stopover Brew. Now, what that means, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it was a commercial thing, maybe something to do with tourism, because if there's one place that we would recommend, and that is, good Lord, there's a young person there, I think, a footballer. The local team, by the way, the Lewis ladies, are unfortunately being relegated. That's the
Have they?
I'm sorry to say that. They were playing another team from South London, who shall remain nameless. There aren't many H's, you know, in football. I mean, there's Huddersfield Town, of course, but I can't remember. There's Arsenal, I suppose. Hull City.
Yes. What are your favourites? Boom, boom.
Oh, absolutely. Boom. It's the whole thing. Basil Brush.
Yes. It was really Bahazel.
Yes. There aren't many entertainers. Of course, who was the great bloke who went across Niagara Falls on a tightrope? Dear, because I think that might have been an H as well.
Yes, I think you're right.
Do you know, we're going to sit here and think about that.
Houdini. Houdini.
You see, am I making this all up, madam? No, I'm not. You're right. Sorry, sir. I didn't realise. Yes, it's... we rely very heavily on one or two friends participating, so we hope you will. And come up, well, for this time next week, we'll throw in a few of your H's, you see.
Yes.
And see what it starts. I think you could start an entire campaign on BH. You see, this is BH. It's the Black Horse, isn't it? Exactly. It's the Black Horse. There was a lovely man called Mike Reed, who was a television disc jockey. Young chap, and I read about him very recently. He's back in broadcasting again.
Is he really?
Oh, a lot of people, you know. I mean, the Tony Blackburns, he's still going as well. And of course, there was another H. That was David Hamilton. We remember David Hamilton.
Diddy David Hamilton.
Little Diddy David Hamilton. He's still going strong there. Something called, you mentioned Boom. I'm not sure you should have done, you know, Keith. Because there is a thing called Boom Radio. Did you know that?
Well, I saw it the other day. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There was also a hero television series called Boone.
Yes, I know.
Remember?
Yes.
He was a sort of a Cockney quasi-detective.
Oh, yes. But a hero, H. Another H, you see.
Yes.
No. I think it's catchy. Mind you, we've been down the television road. This is why we are so fond of and encourage a little bit of Mirador, as I heard earlier, as Keith was explaining to people how important it is, television in particular, of this sort. The point is, though, that on the mainstream, I mean, I watched a thriller. They claimed it to be a thriller on Sunday on ITV. I think I can mention it here. And the number of trails I've seen for it And it all involves being at 35,000 feet up in the air in an aeroplane, and there's a lot of nasty things going on.
Oh, I've seen that trailed. Is it any good?
Well, I had to be very cautious here. I don't want to upset officials at ITV. You never know, I might get an offer.
Absolutely.
Once they've seen this,
Yes.
I mean, there'll be no holding them. No, frankly, I always give these new thrillers a chance. And I think, well, let's see how it is. And it began to get very, very predictable. And there was one moment, and I don't think I'm giving the game away, because the other irritating thing about television today is that you watch it on the television, and then they tell you, if you want to watch the entire series, why don't you go to... And in other words, what's the point of watching it on television if you can watch the entire series somewhere else in your bedroom or something? Ridiculous. So anyway, they did warn that this... I'm warning this because I don't want to spoil it for the rest of you. But there was one moment when they were delivering a plane, and one was a vegetarian or vegan for this man who was under arrest. And someone else elsewhere in the plane said, "Oh, by the way, I'd like a vegan." And the stewardess said, "Oh, I'm sorry, we haven't got any of that now." That last one. And this man who was captive said, I thought very predictably, "Well, you can have this one if you like." Guess what happened in about 2 hours' time?
Oh.
The bloke in the back suddenly went, Of course he did. It was obvious, wasn't it? Yeah. And there's a very dodgy stewardess as well. She was behaving strangely. Another man was seen hiding in a locker. And I thought, all above 35,000 feet. It sounds like one of those holiday trips to Mallorca. Dear, oh dear. And I'm going to study, babe. Hey, viva España. Oh dear, oh dear.
Oh,
now,
yes.
Spain. I mean, there is another place. Lovely place, began with an H. Thought I'd mention it. Huelva, Huelva.
Oh, I've heard of that before.
It's lovely.
Is it?
Costa del Sol, very close. If you go to Torremolinos, that's the resort, of course, that I ruined. We've discussed this before. I was the person who said it was the most wonderful place in the world. Then it was a fishing village with little fishermen and their boats and everything like that. And suddenly it's high-rise flat everywhere, and sadly not the same. Torremolinos.
Yes.
But inland from Torremolinos is Huelva. I think it's called Huelva. And that is absolutely delightful with incredible bridges spanning vast gorges and things. It's wonderful.
I understand that a lot of those high rises that were built are now standing empty. Yeah. If you excuse the expression, the bottom has dropped out of that market.
Oh, absolutely right. Well, I saw very recently somewhere someone was advertising the most gorgeous looking place on the Costa del Sol. A splendid place at a very, very reasonable price. But the people are simply not buying it now, unfortunately.
Yes.
The other thing is, of course, when we talk temperature, we complain about the cold here, but the heat in Spain these days is getting very, very dodgy indeed. I personally, I don't like it too. Some people like it hot. I'm not one of them. I can't take it too hot, actually.
No. Jack Lemmon was the man who liked it hot, was it not?
Oh, yes, Jack Lemmon. What a film that was. That Shirley MacLaine, am I right? Oh, no, it wasn't Shirley MacLaine. It was Marilyn Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, dear, oh, dear. Jack Lemmon, and a wonderful, a lovely part played by an old comedian. Oh, we're going to remember his name in a moment. Oh, dear. That's the trouble, you see. People think this whole thing is scripted. They think that there's a big sort of cue sheet there and we're coming up. It's none of that at all, you see. So we keep coming up with those ideas and then we can't remember half the story. It's the same with all of us, isn't it? Yeah, it's not a question of age. It's sage more than anything else. Sage and onions. And we certainly know our onions.
Yes, we do.
True. Now, he was a lovely comedian, and he had a big grin, and he was an American comedian as well. If you know the answer to that, let us know, please.
Yes.
I'd like to know. If it begins with an H, that will be even
a bonus.
Yes,
bonus.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You know, I mean, all those films were. Do you remember? You see, in the days of the cinema, when there was an A certificate and a U certificate, there was also
an X certificate.
Before X, H.
Oh, was it?
Oh, yes. When you saw Boris Karloff or you saw those Frankensteins, it would be an H certificate. Yes. Back to the same argument, you see. Do you not think I've got a point here? Yes, I have a point. It's a very good point. Henty, Hayes, holistics. Oh, dear. I'm exhausted. And I must find out about that bottle of wine.
Indeed. As bottles of wine appearing on the doorstep I hope you don't take a sip and go,
Oh, there's a thought. It might be all part of a new ITV drama of this company, this rather devious company in Leicester, whose name we will not mention, although it's a very strange name. That's another worry, really. It didn't begin with an H either. If it had begun with an H, it would be called HIP, funnily enough. But that's a clue. That's a clue. I think you never know. There might be this devious company in Leicester. Maybe it's Walker's Crisps who didn't like the reference I made to them and Gary Lineker. And maybe they're sending this rather dubious, you're so right, I won't have a sip. I haven't opened it.
But I haven't tested for arsenic.
Well, exactly. Yes. I mean, if it had been Ribena, for example, now Ribena, I can drink Ribena. That's very good for you, especially if you've got a bit of a bit of a Ribena.
Now, you mustn't tell people because they'll try to circumvent everything. Those people who want to get you with some arsenic will find a way to put it into Ribena.
Why would anybody want to do with that? I mean, that is the whole thing, really. I mean, there are moments, I must admit, when I'm clearly, obviously offend a few people, but in the main, I think I'm affable. That's
happy.
Happy
Henty.
I do try to be happy, The trouble is, as we all know, the harder you try to be happy, the more difficult it becomes. Because happiness you don't work at it. It really should happen, shouldn't it?
You need something to laugh at. I've got Parkinson's. What have you got?
Yes, exactly, precisely. Exactly. I've got Parkinson's. What are yours? Yes, exactly. Talk about it. It's no good bottling it up. No. Bottling it up. You see, there's the same theme as well. Seem to be bottles of the theme today.
It's amazing, isn't it, how words are linked?
It is.
Yes.
Well, what words of? That's why I do.
It started with an H.
Yes, it started with an H. There's a song there. Yes. Above all else, I was just thinking that. One of the things I enjoy in the afternoons, I enjoy obviously being here and watching in the mornings, but in the afternoons, frequently I will do these crosswords, you see, because those are words again. And some of the clues are horrendous on H. They're really difficult. You have to think about them and work them out. And I think that's very important to keep the brain ticking over, you see.
Yes. There are 26 letters in the alphabet. And we have found at least 50 H's.
We have indeed. We've highlighted the H. Yes. And that will be perhaps, I can see a little placard now, highlight the H. And Henty, what's the time now?
We've been rabbiting on, but we've been enjoying it.
Well, exactly. Yes. I mean, what's the heck?
It's a happy half hour.
What the heck?
And if it turns into a happy 45 minutes, what the heck?
Well, exactly. Yes. I mean, what is time other than to enjoy yourself? But I know, I sense there is a feeling out there. Yes, all right. Thank you very much, chaps. Right. Next. I can hear someone shouting, next. We're not going to sing today, I promise you. I just not the voice. No. I didn't mention finally the seagull. You see, I mentioned this young chap, and then I deviated away from it as I tend to do. And this is a young man who I admire enormously. He's British, by the way, and there was a competition in Belgium. Quite why it was there, although they probably wouldn't have it in this country. And the competition was to find the champion seagull impersonator. And this child had this amazing voice that sounded just like a seagull, you see. And there was a big cheer, and he won this competition. And as a direct result of that, He appeared on national news, on local news. He was a local celebrity, all because he can go, ow, 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 ow. See, when you get to my age, madam, it's very difficult to do that. But when you're about 8, perfect. So the rest of his life, unfortunately, you know, when he gets married, they're all going to go on, Michael, go on, do your goal, go on, Michael. Ow, ow.
We have
Sorry.
the 2 H's on a search for a seagull that sounds like a human.
That would be really good. Yes. Can you imagine that? That actually would be quite. Wouldn't that be terrifying if instead of going, oh, it was going, hello, mind you.
Oh no! All he's going to do is say, "Core, blimey."
Well, final word, because I really have to go. I've got a lot of things to do. Final word, a lot of love goes to a lady who has a shop in Eastbourne, and I was there yesterday. And those regular viewers will probably know this, but she has this shop and ran it in Brighton and then moved. And it was her birthday very recently, and she's a very dear friend of mine. And maybe I won't mention her name, but she lives or works in a bookshop very close to Eastbourne Town Hall. Let's leave it at that. The one great thing that I adore about her, amongst many things, is the fact that she has an African parrot. And its name is Archie. And I said very recently, I said in a little piece in my diary, that Archie is definitely going to outlive me. It's going to outlive you. It's going to outlive Camilla. It lives the life of Riley in this. It's got a cage, but it's a very large cage. She feeds it wonderful fruit. It was all there. And there was no one else in the shop. So I was able to talk to Archie. Hello, Archie. Hello. And it talks and it sighs and it joins in with her when she talks to people. It's lovely. So pop in there. It's very near the town hall. We won't mention her name, but she knows who she is. And I think that's my final thoughts, really. We won't have seagulls, that's maybe, but go and see Archie and give him my love. Say it's from John Henty, Henty.
Now, one final thought. Is remind us when the big Max Miller
thank you.
Party is going to take place.
Right. Well, the big one is going to be on August the 11th. So there's plenty of time to mention it again.
Right.
But it's a Sunday, you'll find. And if you've got nothing else to do and you can get down to Brighton or come along the coast or whatever it is, come from Patagonia if you like, madam. We don't mind. We're not proud. And it'll be in the pavilion grounds there from about 2:00. We hope there'll be some big names there, celebrities and star names, all celebrating not only Max Miller, but 25 years of the Max Miller Organization or Appreciation Society, 100 editions of our magazine, and the fact that in very short period of time, we intend to get Max Miller back into Brighton Hippodrome, the theatre, which is currently being refurbished. So that's the big day, August the 11th.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Well, Keith, love to you, my friend.
My dear chap,
I
think we've covered a lot of serious stuff today, but we always must end with Max. Yeah. He is the reason for our existence.
Raison d'etre, if you don't mind the French, madam. Yes, exactly. And we all need one of those, don't we?
Raison d'etre.
I mean, without a raison d'etre, what is there? What's it all about? What's it all about, Alfie? And on that note, I will leave you. I don't believe any of this. Poor little sheep. No, not that song, John. Thank you, Keith. Keep going.
It's lovely to see you, and it's being so cheerful that keeps us going.
That was it. Mona Lott, Itmar, Tommy Handy, and all the H's. Don't forget.
Oh, right. Now, we've got a family of H's.
Ho, ho, ho.
What are you going to do with all those H's? It's good to see you, John. I think that it's 11:15. I think that on that note we should end the day and say toodle 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 pip and why not? There we are. I've got a couple of other things to mention, and that is because we're here is the pub quiz, which is on May the 12th, the second Sunday in the month, and you should come along. It's a wonderful occasion. Declan holds court, and so he should. A wonderful chap, Declan, and he makes sure that the pub quiz happens without fail on Sunday from 8 o'clock on the 12th of May, Sunday. And also he is responsible for, if I can find it, just a little, where are we? I think that's it. Is that it? No. That's it. There we go. The Sunday lunch here, which starts at 12 o'clock each Sunday and is really worthwhile coming to enjoy. Great food, well presented, but the pub is a cozy English pub. It is not a restaurant, it's a pub. And Sunday lunch wouldn't be the same without it. That's that. Also, I just noticed in passing here is look at this. The haze generated by AI on the scooter in the street with the hat. There you go. There you go. And enough of this particular Thursday morning. It's been great fun. We'll see you tomorrow. And this is where it came from. From Lewis. In a Black Horse pub.